Zakia Ahmed Siddiqi, and what a pleasure it is to be talking to an amazing artist, illusionist, also actor, and yes, somebody who gives us a laugh a minute as well. So I'm sure that this interview is going to be exactly the same as well. So I'm going to be speaking to Akshay Laxman, and what a pleasure it is here to be talking to you, Akshay. Could you share with us your initial thoughts and feelings upon reading the script for Never Give Up? What actually drew you to this project?
Well, it's a very, very interesting story, actually. Exactly 10 years ago, I was in South Africa and I was doing a show on a popular cruise line in South Africa. And once the show was done, I was backstage. A lot of people came to click pictures or, to appreciate. And there walks in Pinky Mothie. And that was my first interaction with her. So instead of clicking a picture, Pinky Mothie came to me and she said, "Hey, you're wasting your talent, man. You have no idea what you can do with life." I was like, what was that? So I said, what do you mean I'm wasting my talent? What does that mean? He said, you should be an actor. So in my head, I thought, okay, this is something that a lot of people say to a lot of people that, you look good, you should be an actor, or you speak well, you should be an actor. So these things are just spoken and then forgotten about. So even I forgot about it. But then she said, no, no, I'm serious. Hey, I'm producing a movie, eh? I'll call you, eh? So he took my number, and lo and behold, like, after a year later, I get a call from Pinky, and she says, "We are in Mumbai. Our script is ready, and why don't you come down and meet me and Rajiv?" And that's where I met Rajiv in Mumbai, and that's how I got to be a part of the project. This is how it all happened. Yeah.
I can just hear Pinky saying all those things to you. And she's one of those people who tells you, we need you to do something, and you've got proof that she ends up getting you do
She she motivates people. Motivates. Yeah.
it. Yes, absolutely. She motivates people. Now, Akshay, in the movie, your character faces various challenges, right? How actually did you prepare for this role to give it that authentic look as well, the struggles and the triumphs?
Okay, so you're talking about the different ages that I'm playing. I couldn't hear you properly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, the roles that you play, obviously, to
Yeah.
be authentic.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
roles,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yes,
Of course, of course.
roles that you play. Yeah.
So I remember this very well. The person in charge of giving us those looks, if I'm not wrong, I think her name was Virushka or something. If I'm not wrong. So of course, to play different ages and different roles of different age groups, you need to be authentic. When you're playing young, you need to be a little stupid. When you're playing in your mid 20s, you need to be a little bit more playful with my sister, who's played by Samvedhna. When you're in your 40s, you have to be more mature, and when you're in your 50s or 60s, you have to be more like a motivational speaker, like, because you've gathered all this wisdom from your life, so you're now sharing the wisdom. So I understood these things, that different age groups means there are different experiences and different behaviors, so to speak. I remember this very interesting thing, when Virishka, if I'm correctly remembering her name, when she used to give us those looks for different ages. I remember this. She made me sit down once and she said, she took a paper. Oh, today you are 20. So for your 20, I'll give you side locks. I'll give you flat hair. You'll look more like a kid. Okay, I'll do this, I'll do that. I said, okay. One day she said, oh, today you're 60. Okay, so I'll color your hair like this and I'll do this and make those changes. Will make you look like 60. I said, okay. And my actual age was 26 back then. And one day she reads the paper and she says, oh, today you're 40. So for 40, I'll leave you as you are.
And how did that make you feel?
It made me feel never give up. Never.
Good answer. Good answer. Now, Akshay, yes, playing those different roles, and then you have to get into character. But I think adding to all of that, you were in South Africa. You were filming at these beautiful, stunning locations, right, in South Africa. Did this add to your performance?
Of course it does. Like one of the best things as far as I remember, on the entire film, I was there for about 40 days or so. And in 40 days, I did not see a single frame which made the use of a green screen, if you will. Because it's such a common thing these days that all you need to do is just put up a green screen or a blue screen, and we'll change the background in the post production, like we'll put a fake backdrop or something. So you just have to pretend to act like there's a beautiful scenery out there. So that doesn't, or that didn't happen on any day in any frame of this movie. When we were out there, we were on real locations, real places, real vintage shop, real waterfalls where there's a scene where they throw a bag off from the waterfall. So all these places help you in not needing to act. Okay. So when you're an actor, if there's a green screen behind you and the director says, imagine there's a dragon coming and chasing you, or imagine there's a beautiful scenery out there, then you need to act that there's something beautiful out there. But when there's actually something beautiful out there, you don't need to act, you just react. So having these beautiful locations helped in reacting better. And even the scene where I'm playing a 60-year-old with a younger version of Rajiv Mothie, and we are sitting in a vintage shop, that the atmosphere around the environment of the vintage shop, made me inspired to say certain lines in the scene which weren't really there in the script. But because of that environment, those lines of wisdom, just came out like. So yeah, it genuinely helps. Yeah.
So that's good to know, and I'm sure that because of that, you are going to be coming back to South Africa as well. Now, Never Give Up is a story of resilience, it's a story of determination. How do you believe that this movie's message will resonate with audiences around the world, actually?
So it's very simple. It's not a story that could be time bound, in the sense it's not something that if it's released in 2023 might lose its charm in 2033. That won't happen, because it's a timeless story. It's a timeless classic. James Cameron was recently asked when he released Avatar 2, that why do all your films become only the best films in history? Why does that happen? You've never been like a good film. It's always the best film in history. Why does that happen always? Like, Terminator, Titanic, Avatar. So he had one beautiful answer to give. He said, if you want your film to be globally accepted or celebrated, then the message of the film should speak to everyone globally. It should transcend races and languages and ages. So that's exactly the element, the sauce that Never Give Up has. It's a story, it's a message that will always transcend all the boundaries. Doesn't matter what's your age, what's your race, what's your religion, what's your political beliefs. It's so difficult these days to have something that in today's times that transcends political beliefs, because the world is divided into two sections of politics everywhere you go. So this film has that content, that story, because it's not a film about the event industry. It's not a film about the entertainment industry. It's a story about a man, his vision, and what his wife does to support that, and what her brother does to support her. So it's a story about relationships, about families, and then later on the man and the nephew and things like that. So it's a story about emotions. It's a family drama at its core, with the magnificent backdrop that it has around.
So there you go, quoting James Cameron, and of course, he's a global quote there. And you also mentioned that Never Give Up is a movie that will appeal to audiences globally. And that brings me to my next question, because you now have worked with diverse cultures. You've come to South Africa, you've seen our diverse cultures, you've worked with the cast and coming from different cultural backgrounds as well. Those moments that stood out for you working with them during this production.
Mm. Yeah, of course. One of my most memorable moments in the entire film is working with my brother Rajiv Mothie. The kind of chemistry we had on the sets, that we never really rehearsed our lines, so to speak, because he knew his lines, I knew my lines, but we both knew once the camera hits rolling, neither of us is going to stick to the script. We are just going to take it forward impromptu. And we trusted each other enough that we knew that if I go off script and I take it somewhere, he is going to reply to me in the same way. So it was more like a conversation that we had. Each time we had a different take, the conversation was different. And I remember when I went for the dubbing of the movie, the editor told me that he spoke to me in Hindi, and he said, क्या आपने अगर एक सीन 4 बार किया तो चारों अलग अलग सीन बन जाते हैं, मैं क्या एडिट करूं? तो
Yeah, well, I can understand, especially working with Rajiv, and as you say, it's just so natural. So I think you mentioned something very important, Akshay, is that this movie is it's not about acting; it's about actually living it, and that's important, yeah.
so I was basically saying that, like the very scene that I'm talking about, like the first scene that me and Rajiv had together, was supposed to be a very simple scene where both of us are drunk, and where we are talking about, he's about to become a father soon or something like that. That's what we are talking about, and we are drinking. It was supposed to be a scene of barely 4 or 5 lines, or not more than that. But as we took it forward with our chemistry, we came up with a lingo where it became like, oh, that's deep. That calls for another shot. So each time we'd say something that would be very intellectual, like, there's words of wisdom, and then there are words of whiskydom. So words that you can come up with after having a lot of whiskey. Words of whiskydom. So if we make a sequel to the movie, we'll have words of whiskydom as a slang in the word. So each time we say a few words of whiskydom, we would say that's deep. That calls for another shot. Now that actually is a scene from my real life. Like, I was once at a party where I met a stranger, a guy whom we had never met, but just because we were drunk so much, and we were having words of whiskydoms being shared about life and philosophies, so either him or me, we would say, "Oh, that's deep. Let's got that calls for another shot." So that memory came back to me when we were shooting that scene, and I was like, why not just have that element of that's deep. Let that calls for another shot. That became such a big part of the movie itself that much later in the movie, when I'm old and I'm talking to the younger Rajiv, I won't reveal or spoil anything, but it comes back in some interesting way. So yeah, I've made the best memories with Rajiv actually. Yeah.
So the next time you're in South Africa, give us some of your whiskey, Jim, okay? And
Yeah, words, and you organize the whiskey, I'll get the whiskey.
Okay, so South African cinema as a very unique perspective. How does Never Give Up contribute to the rich tapestry of South African storytelling? And what message does it convey to the global audience? For you, that is.
So, like, if you go to see when films in India had started to take a rise and a boom, if you remember, one of the initial films in the Hindi film industry were the ones that glorified the Indian culture. They glorified the beauty of India, physical beauty, like the locations and stories, and and the film industry in India actually is a major contributor to the rise of the culture in the country itself. If a simple example being, if you've seen Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, there's a sequence about them stealing the brother-in-law's shoes, and Madhuri Dixit has to do that. Salman has to get the shoes back, or joote do paise lo. Now that culture, that actually didn't really exist in a big way before that movie, but because the movie became a hit, and that thing became widespread like fire, even till date, now that thing is celebrated, in that sense. So just by giving this example, I'm just giving you like a case study. I'm presenting a case study to you that this has happened here before, and that's exactly what's going to happen in South Africa with Never Give Up. The cast is varied. It's not all Indian cast. There's Indians. There's South Africans. There are different races of South Africa itself. There are different backdrops of South Africa. The businesses, the beauty of it. My father, when he saw the film on the big screen, like the first cut of the film a year ago in India, when he saw it on the big screen, he was floored by the beautiful cinematography of the film. when you show the stadium from a top view, from bird's eye point of view, in the song with Rajiv where he's dancing with the beautiful babes, which is "Kyun lag raha hai samay ajnabi," where that's his the entry song. You have the beautiful ships, the beautiful water side. Such beauty of South Africa has been captured on the beautiful 4K Arri Alexa camera of our film. That has never happened before. It's never happened before. This is the very first time all of South Africa is going to witness all of its beauty in all of its glory on the big screen. That's going to give rise to the South African tourism industry for sure, and I can guarantee that. Like once you've enticed with something, you want to see that in real life. In fact, one of the locations where we shot in the film, the waterfall site, was actually a location in a popular Hindi film called Dhoom 2. So they actually shot that in South Africa. So we have shot it there. So we are the OGs now, in both ways, in all senses of the word. Also, when it comes to the culture, when you see what Pinky Mothie's character does in the film, how she unites not just the Indians but also all the different races of South Africa, she really shows the spirit of South Africa. It's a South African spirit. They're Indian origins, but that doesn't mean that the film is any less South African. It is a South African film about South African culture, uh, and it's about Indians who are proud to be South Africans.
So actually, you basically answered my next question. Because yeah, but that's actually it was going to be, but you answered it so beautifully now about the message and in terms of entertainment and of course the underlying message that never give up would bring to the people, to the audience who are watching it. But you summarized it and you summed it up so beautifully, not only about the movie but about the location as well in South Africa. Is there any other descriptions that you'd like to add?
Okay, yeah, of course. See, there's a beautiful sequence in the film where there are lots of there's a medley of dance. Um, what I loved about it is when we were shooting it, that there was a proper Bollywood kind of a music sequence where the Rajiv and the others dancing, but there's also a major sequence within that sequence about South Africans doing the classic South African dance as well. And I was telling the as Urvi, who's the choreographer of the movie, as she was doing the choreography, I was standing with the director, Mr. Amit Chheda, and I was telling him that it is so beautiful that the blend of these cultures of Indian music, South African music, Indian dance, South African dance, and then you see the South African dancers doing the Indian dance together. So I said, this blend, forget about South Africa. I don't think it's happened in any country before. That you are celebrating your culture of your origins, where you come from, which is India, while not letting go of the very culture of the country that you're living in now, which is South Africa. So I said it is so well balanced with so much respect from both the ends. I'm pretty sure that there is a lot of harmony and peace between the Indians living in South Africa and the South Africans themselves. But after this film, I think they're going to come together. Going to come together and tether with each other and coalesce in such ways that has never been seen before. You're going to see an era of brotherhood that never existed before this, and this film will be.
Well, that is what BigM Productions is all about, by the way, Akshay. The Afro-fusion, and the Indo-Afro-fusion as well. So it's great stuff. It's exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'm a huge fan of Afrofusion. I'm a fan of all the beautiful choreographers, dancers, the people who do the makeup, people who make all the costumes, all of them, the entire Afrofusion team. Like to how do I go this? Like the Veena who does all the logistics, Lena who does so much in that. Uh, of course, Pinky and Rajiv are there. They are the stars of it. The rest, if I remember the names of, oh god, it's been a lot of years, but I remember Miles was a part of the Afrofusion team. There's Sanam, of course, who is always Sanam is my favorite, and there's Shweta, there's Fiona, there is I'm trying to recollect. They are all little bits. There's a little Shah Rukh and little Aamir, Anwar's kids. I'm sure they're all part of the Afrofusion team, and the way they they celebrate the culture of India. I'm so proud of it. And again, even if you watch Afrofusion, they never let go of either of the sides, either India or South Africa. They're just like that. And it's a beautiful message that why can't you be proud of both? Where you come from and where you are now. Why can't you be proud of both? You can, of course you can. It doesn't mean that you have to abandon one of those. Loyalty for us is basically we are citizens of the globe. We are a global citizen. So if you love where you come from and where you live, uh, Afrofusion really deserves its name, Afrofusion. That's who they are. I'm proud. I'm proud to be associated with them.
You know, you started the interview by saying that you were in South Africa like 10 years ago, and Pinky G had seen you, and she said, I'm coming up with a movie, and I want you to act. And before that, obviously, you know, it wasn't acting that you were into. How did Never Give Up influence your other projects going forward?
Wow, it did. It really did. So, number one, uh, when I got this project, and I think Pinky can verify this, my initial role in the film was something that is now played by Sarah, which was the role of an MC towards the end of the film, which was hardly like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I don't know what that was duration. Something very 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 tiny, but something fun. And that is what Pinky had in her mind when she met me backstage, probably. But as we stayed in touch for that year or two, whatever, I used to make those videos of TikTok where I'm, acting in front of the camera with the dialogues that you have to basically dub, on those TikTok videos. You must have seen those videos, not mine, but in general. So Pinky saw that, Veena saw that, and they were like, he can give good expressions. So why don't we give him a lengthier role? And then they gave me the role of Danny, which is Pinky's brother. Now that's throughout the film, sprinkled with different age groups. So when you get your first acting job, which is so meaty in every way, it's probably the wet dream of every actor who'd want to get that. I have a first time actor and I'm getting to show all these colors. I'm getting to play a late teenager. I'm getting to play a mid 20s guy. I'm getting to play a 40s guy, for which Virushka said, I'll leave you as you are. And you're, of course, getting to play the 60-year-old guy. For me, it made me realize that there is so much untapped potential in every human being, not just me. You just need someone. You need an external force sometimes to make you realize what are the untapped, potentials. What I realized while acting in this film, I never realized it before, but I realized while acting in this film that I could be a writer. And I realized that because every scene that I was supposed to do, I rehashed my dialogues, I improvised on them, I added some, I removed some, and I would do that with the permission of the director, Mr. Amit Chheda. By the end of the film, Mr. Chheda was so impressed with all of that, and he saw all the scenes that I had improvised and all my. So he actually gave me a credit in the film of additional dialogues by Akshay Laxman. So that film made me see the writer side of me, which I never even knew existed. And because of that, once I came back and I started doing my own shows, which are my mind reading and my magic shows, I started using the talent of writing in those shows. That okay, now I know that I can write, I can memorize, and I can act it out. So it helped me big time. And later on, very recently, I acted on Sony TV's show Vagle Ki Dunia, and I was there for 7 episodes. And and in that, during the shoot of that, I very often I brought up the topic of never give up. That I've acted in a film in South Africa, so even they are excited to see it. Yeah.
So actually, I have a question.
So actually, I
I need
have a
to know.
question. I need to know.
What am I
What
thinking
am I
right
thinking right now?
now? All right.
You are
All
thinking,
right.
you
Okay.
are thinking
Yeah.
that there's no way that he can tell what I'm thinking.
Actually, no. What I was thinking was, wow, the guy who's making it so big now, and you proudly say this. There's not many people who will admit it, but you proudly say that, this acting talent of mine, this writing talent of mine was born in South Africa. What a moment that is for us South Africans, Akshay. Thank you for that. So finally, for all the aspiring actors who took, look at your journey. I mean, from illusionist to mind reader to actor to a writer, what advice would you give them based on your experiences with Never Give Up? Never Give Up.
Okay. So I have a very simple and straightforward advice to anyone who aspires to be a writer or actor or whatever. Is there's something called as law of attraction, where you think of something, you manifest it. Then there's something called as law of action, and law of action is discovered and coined by me. And the law of action is basically this: if you act, and I don't mean the acting act, I mean if you act upon a thought, it is going to give you a result, whether directly or indirectly, but it is always going to give you a result. A lot of people don't act because they are demotivated to act, thinking, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not really sure whether this is going to get me something or no. Why should I do something where I do not know whether it's going to give me an output? Forget about all that. Just go and act upon something. Now, if 10 years ago, when I got a call to do a show on the cruise in South Africa, I remember this one thing. I'm not going to mention the organizer's name or anything, but I remember when we had quoted a particular price for that, and they said, no, 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 it's very last minute. We want you to do for XYZ or whatever. And my managers were like, okay, no, we have to do it at this particular price and not this one. So there was a lot of price negotiations. And in my head, I just said, you know what? I have never done a show in South Africa. I want to go there and I want to perform there and I want to perform it for that audience. And I put my foot down. And no matter what was the negotiations going on, I stopped it right there in the middle. And I, got my passports done, visas done, everything, and I was there. And after that show, the entire, life trajectory changed because Pinky met me backstage. Had I not acted upon it, had I not taken a quick call, quick decision, let's do it, there's no point in waiting here, sitting here, doing something else or nothing. We have this thing, it's concrete, act upon it. We did that. Pinky met me. When Pinky met me, I remember when she mentioned that she's making a movie and she would like to cast me in it or something. I could have just giggled and shunned it off and thinking nothing's gonna happen. Rather, what happened? I took complete interest in that. I said, even though I thought nothing is gonna happen, I said, okay, let's exchange numbers. Let's do that quickly. Let me send you a little bit of profile about me. I acted upon that. Even after that, in everything, like when I was shooting the film, when I got a thought that maybe I can improvise the scene, I could have been conscious about it. Then what would the director think? Would they take offense? What would the writers think? Would they take offense? No, I acted upon it. I said, I can improvise it. And even I did not think of it as a writer. I just kept acting upon it, and I got the credit of a additional dialogue writer. And then later on, I realized, oh my God, I'm a writer. I had no idea. So just act upon whatever you're feeling, and you'll be surprised the kind of gifts and the surprises life is holding for you. It's just waiting for you to act upon it. Law of action.
Well, I'd like to say to Akshay, thank you so much for joining us. And remember, act upon it. So act upon it. 27th October, act upon it. Go and catch the movie, okay, near you. It's going to be awesome. And you heard Akshay speak about it. You've heard of his experiences. You will be seeing it on the big screen. And remember those locations that he spoke about? It's right here in South Africa. It's a movie that's really very emotional. It will tug at your heartstrings. It will make you smile. It will make you laugh. But most importantly, it will teach you to never give up.